Your brain does not need a perfect life to recover, it needs fewer interruptions. That is the shift most people never make. They think mental clarity will arrive when life slows down, when the schedule calms down, when the inbox is empty, when people stop being difficult, when the world finally becomes less demanding. But your brain does not get clearer because life becomes perfect. It gets clearer when fewer things are allowed to interrupt it. That is the difference between chasing peace and protecting attention. Most people are trying to find peace. What they actually need is fewer intrusions, fewer open loops, fewer unnecessary inputs, fewer thoughts being treated like emergencies, fewer people, problems, notifications, reactions, and expectations competing for the same limited mental space. This is where the whole month comes together. Mental stability is not something you force. It is something you protect by reducing what keeps interrupting your brain. Most people misunderstand mental peace. They imagine a life with no stress, no uncertainty, no noise, and no pressure. But real life does not work that way. There will always be demands, decisions, tension, and things you cannot control. The goal is not to create a life with zero input. The goal is to stop giving everything equal access to your attention. The real problem is not only that life is busy. The real problem is that your brain keeps being interrupted by things that should not still be active. A message you already read, a conversation that ended hours ago, a thought that brought nothing useful yesterday, a problem with no action step right now, a fear asking for another round of attention, a person's opinion still running inside your nervous system. One intrusion is small, but 10, 20, 50 intrusions create a brain that never settles. That is why you can be physically still and mentally crowded. That is why you can sit in a quiet room and still feel internal noise. Your brain is not only tired because it works hard, it is tired because it keeps getting pulled away from itself. One interruption steals focus, another steals emotional energy, another reopens a loop, another pulls you into a reaction you did not need. By the end of the day, your attention is fragmented, your mind is full, your patience is low, your clarity is weak. Not because you are broken, because too many things were allowed to compete for your brain. This is why mental clarity should be treated like a protected resource. Not a mood, not a reward, a protected resource. The same way you protect your time, your money and your devices, your attention also needs protection. Because if everything is allowed to interrupt you, nothing important gets your full brain. Not your work, not your rest, not your decisions, not your recovery. You cannot think deeply if your mind is always being pulled sideways. You cannot feel steady if your attention belongs to whatever shouts the loudest. This is why more peace is not the answer. Fewer intrusions are. And that changes the question. Instead of asking, how do I feel more peaceful? Ask, what keeps interrupting my brain? What keeps taking attention without giving value? What keeps reappearing without requiring action? These questions create clarity, because clarity is not something you chase. It becomes visible when unnecessary interference decreases. Your brain does not need to manufacture calm from nowhere. It needs less impact, less intrusion, less interruption. That does not mean avoiding reality, deleting every problem, or becoming detached. It means being more precise about what deserves access. Not every thought deserves another visit. Not every notification deserves an immediate reaction. Not every message deserves to interrupt your nervous system. Not every opinion deserves residence in your mind. Not every unfinished issue deserves active attention at all hours. This is not avoidance. It is mental filtering, and filtering is how the brain recovers. Recovery is not only about rest, it is also about what stops competing for your attention. You can sleep and still feel mentally busy. You can leave work and still carry work in your head. You can end a conversation and still keep arguing with it mentally for hours. That is why rest alone is not enough. If the intrusions remain active, your brain never fully gets the space it needs. So protecting attention becomes a form of mental recovery. A shorter reply protects attention. A clear boundary protects attention. Not checking again protects attention. Not replaying the conversation protects attention. Not explaining yourself one more time protects attention. This is how stability is built. Not through one big breakthrough, through repeated interruption control, small, quiet acts of protecting access, saying no to one more mental loop, closing one more open channel, letting one more thought pass. That is how the brain begins to feel less crowded. That is how your inner world becomes less reactive. That is how clarity starts to return. And when clarity returns, people often call it peace. But what they are really feeling is reduced interference, less access, less intrusion, less competition inside the mind. Your brain does not need more peace. It needs fewer intrusions, because peace is not something you go out and find. Mental clarity grows when fewer things interrupt your attention. That is the real model. Not how do I become peaceful, but what am I still allowing to keep interrupting me? That question leads to better choices. It helps you notice what is urgent and what is just loud, what needs action and what only wants access, what deserves attention and what is only draining it. This is where internal boundaries become practical. A boundary is not only something you say to another person, it is also something you establish inside your own attention. It is the decision that not everything gets full mental access. Not everything gets to stay active. Not everything gets to compete for cognitive space. That is how you stop living in constant reaction mode. That is how your mind begins to feel less occupied. That is how you stop waiting for life to become gentle before you can recover. Because waiting for life to calm down is not a strategy. Protecting your attention is. So start there. At the point of interruption, when the notification comes in, when the thought comes back, when the message keeps pulling at you, when the old conversation tries to restart in your head, when the urge appears to check, explain, react, rehearse, or predict, pause and ask, does this deserve access to my brain? Does this need attention right now? Does this create clarity or just more interference? Those questions matter because your attention is limited, your cognitive energy is limited, and the quality of your mind depends on what you stop allowing to interrupt it. You do not need to build a perfect life. You need to reduce unnecessary intrusion. You do not need to chase peace like it is hiding somewhere outside you. You need to protect the mental space that allows clarity to remain. That is how this month ends. Not with motivation, with a model. Your brain recovers when fewer things are allowed to keep interrupting it. That is the principle. That is the practice. And that is how mental energy begins to return. Be prosperous from the inside out.